Why did ancient Egyptians worship cats? Ancient Egypt was one of the world's most advanced civilizations during its time, and with it came a very unique religion by modern standards. One of the most interesting parts of their religious beliefs was their worship of cats, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at that and some other Egyptian religious practices in detail. Animals of all kinds were very respected in ancient Egypt. There was usually some sort of symbolism attached to various kinds of animals. For example, hippos symbolized fertility, crocodiles symbolized power, and various different gods in the polytheistic ancient Egyptian religion were seen as depicted with an animal head on top of a human body. Cats are one animal that you'd see pretty much everywhere in ancient Egyptian art. Even one of the most iconic structures in Egyptian history, the Sphinx, has the face of a cat. But it's important to note one thing. Ancient Egyptians didn't actually worship cats or any other animal on their own. However, they did see these animals as symbols of different divine beings. This means, according to ancient Egyptians at least, the aforementioned gods weren't based on these animals, but rather the animals were a sort of physical symbol of the gods themselves. This is why some historians go as far as to say that the Egyptians worshipped these animals when they actually just worshipped what these animals represented to them. Regardless of whether you can call the Egyptian fascination with cats worship or not, cats were an essential part of ancient Egyptian culture. Cats are also believed to be some of the few animals that would be present in the Egyptian afterlife as well, as there are many cases of cats being mummified alongside humans and pharaohs. Mummification was a process that only the Egyptian elite were able to afford for themselves, despite it being a compulsory process to enter the afterlife. The fact that cats were prioritized for mummification over Egyptian commoners tells you the kind of status they held in ancient Egyptian society. Let's now take a look at how ancient Egyptians interacted with cats, which can teach us more about why they were so respected. It's a common misconception that cats were initially domesticated in ancient Egypt, but that's not true. It's now theorized that cats actually ended up domesticating themselves thousands of years before they became symbols of Egypt, and that many have played a role in why Egyptians were so intrigued by them. Their self-reliance combined with the bond they could create with Egyptians was a subject of fascination by both the ruling class and the commoners of ancient Egypt. Cats were an immediately popular pet, which caused their populations to skyrocket. Having a cat was not just seen as a companionship, although that too was important in their status. Having one was also seen as beneficial to the owner. In a nation with so many deadly animals like venomous snakes and scorpions, cats were an extremely important form of pest control, and according to some historians, the preferred method of pest control. Houses with lots of pets were considered clean of all pests, venom, and poisons, which naturally gave cats the association with cleanliness. This is also evident by some early Egyptian mortuary texts, where cats are shown protecting the sun deity Ra from a snake deity known as Apophis, who was seen threatening Ra. An animal that was seen as a protector by ancient Egyptians was given a status beyond that of even humans in some cases, and there was no better example of an animal that was supposedly protecting them than a cat was. Aside from that, Egyptians also saw cats as animals that had extremely desirable characteristics. They knew how to keep themselves clean. Cleanliness was heavily sought after in ancient Egypt, and there were no cleaner animals that the ancient Egyptians could think of than a cat. They were considered so clean that pharaohs and other royal Egyptians would even allow cats to eat from the same plate that they would eat from. This is huge considering servants weren't even allowed in the same room as royals who were eating, yet they allowed animals to eat with them. Cats were also seen as smart and quick thinking, possessing critical thinking skills that were even greater than that of humans. In fact, even some of us here today might think the same. When it comes to life and death situations, you'd probably want to think like a cat rather than a human. Another thing they admired about cats was their ferocity. Cats know how to defend themselves from all kinds of dangers. Their carefully plotted hunting methods were seen as symbols of how Egyptians saw their own military.